Uh-oh. You got it? You hear him? Theo.
Hey team, hola equipo. This is Mr. Rivera with Jairo's House. As before, Jairo's House is about the youth. Kind of bringing the youth together and through music and sports and just kind of being the best we can be and really just wanting the youth to grow up and be the best versions of themselves as much as possible. Now, since I do work at a school, work very closely with teachers. There's been a couple of lessons that I found inspiration in, and I'd like to go ahead and share throughout with you guys. Just the power of poetry. So today's lesson is going to be more on poetry. So again, welcome to Idol's House, and thank you for tuning in. So poetry is something that helps us express our feelings and emotions in many ways. Though this channel is about following your dreams and discussing the positives of music and sports, it's important to know there are more outlets other than music and sports. And we could always use these outlets to link them together. So for today's example, we are going to be linking poetry with music and sports. Now, a couple things we're going to be going over. What is figurative language? So, figurative language is a word or phrase that does not have its normal literal meaning. So, the writer uses the sake of comparison or dramatic effect. Authors use similes, metaphors, hyperboles, personification to make those stories more interesting. I'm going to go into a little bit more of what those words mean, like similes and metaphors. Now, in a world of technology, you're going to hear a lot of examples, and people say things that might not actually mean. Now, for figurative language, this is going to be something that I want you to be comfortable with and expressing in your writing and your reading as well. So if you're reading books, you're going to get a lot of just imagination, a lot of just imagery as you're imagining things. So we're going to be talking about those terms, and we're going to be talking about just the different types of poems and types of poetry. Now, as this channel is about music and sports and the youth, there's a huge genre that a lot of people today don't really know what it stands for. And I actually learned this in one of my college classes. The genre rap stands for rhythm and poetry. I've actually gone around to a lot of people, strangers, friends, family. Hey, do you know what rap stands for? They threw good guesses out there, but they didn't quite know the actual meaning of what it stands for. Poetry is in its name, rhythm and poetry. Now, we may not see a lot of poetry in today's modern rap, or might lack some figurative language or actual deep meaning. So, with this, we're going to go ahead and learn just different examples of just figurative language. And poetry is in tons of music, not just rap. Um, Poetry is all around us if we really look into it. So, really just taking a deep breath. It's going to be a calm, chill episode. So, what are these types of figurative language? Simile. You might hear the word before. Now, those of you guys that do know what simile is, great. So a simile is a comparison using like or as. Now, using like or as, similar comparisons or something you can think of. Can you think of something that's a simile? Now, talk it out with those people close to you and see if it actually is a simile. Now, simile is going to be something you're comparing. So, if you're wearing a blue shirt, and you say it's as blue as the sky, that could be an example of a simile or examples along those lines. Now, a metaphor is something similar to a simile. However, it's a comparison without using like or as. So without using like or as, it's a direct comparison. The pants I'm wearing are dark. Now, if I use as dark as the night, that'd be more as a simile. If I use my pants are darker than the night, that would be a metaphor. Now, another common figurative language that is used a lot today, but not a lot of people know what it actually is a hyperbole. A hyperbole is something that is an exaggeration. We exaggerate a lot in today's world. Sometimes comedy, a form of sarcasm, can use exaggeration. Now, a common exaggeration or hyperbole you guys might be accustomed to or used to is I'm so hungry I could eat a horse. Now, that is an example of a hyperbole. Again, using figurative language to those. So, poetry uses some of those types of figurative language along with others like personification. Personification is adding human characteristics to something that is not necessarily human, but you're giving human traits to those things. Imagery is something you see a lot in music. You're describing an image, and that image is something that you can kind of envision. You can see it. Can you think of an example of imagery? Now, all these can go hand in hand, like similes and personification. You can kind of see like the grass dances in the wind. Those are examples of you adding personification, it's dancing, and it's almost a form of imagery as well because you're visualizing it, you're thinking about it. And another favorite one of mine is automatopoeia. Say that 5 times fast. Automatopoeia, automatopoeia, automatopoeia. So automatopoeia is actually something you see in like comic books. Automatopoeia is words that describe sound, like zoom or bang or clank. So you typically see those in comic books, and they're usually just one words that again is describing the sound. So those are going to be your automatopoeias. So there are a lot more different types of figurative language, but you'll learn that down the road and also in school. So music has a lot of figurative language in its words. And as we discussed, the rap genre has poetry in it. Now, that could be a different topic for a different show of mine of discussing what modern day music might lack. However, great artist, an example, I don't have his album up on my music wall here, but Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar is a Pulitzer Prize winner on his poetry for describing a lot of forms of figurative language. He is an artist for that reason and just describing a lot of examples of poetry. Now, poetry is for everybody, young and old. It is a way to express and vent, it's an outlet. So, with that being said, types of poems, we have odes, we have epics, we have rhymes, experimental, prose, sonnet, acrostic, and much more. So I do want you to actually go and take a look and just research different types of just poetry. If you go on YouTube as well, you're going to see other examples of just what poetry is. Now, my favorite type of poetry or poems is an ode. An ode is something positive. Matter of fact, the one rule of an ode is it has to stay positive. And in a world of where there could be a lot of distractions and negativity, I think it's time or perfect time for an ode. So with today's episode, we'll be breaking down an ode that I actually wrote that's dedicated to sports. So again, the main purpose of this, guys, is really just showing how we can all connect. And it's okay to be different, but also we have a lot more similarities than we think. So if we are our best versions of ourselves, you'll be surprised. And let's keep pushing along. So this is a note I wrote. Oh, sports. Baseball, basketball, football, also known as soccer, American football, hockey, tennis, martial arts, and more. You help people more than you know. The ability you bring for people of all backgrounds to connect is beautiful. You teach that adversity is a gift in life in playful scenarios. Winning is great, the rush, the thrill, but sometimes more value is gained from losing. The beauty of you is that you show that losing doesn't last long. Soon, all doubts are gone. You are the ball that lights up a young child's face. You are the skill that I will carry for a lifetime. Those skills are carried for generations. You are a 70-year-old grandparent running the bases with their grandchild. Sports, you have put me back on the right course. Thank you, sports, for being there and others when times are rough. Rough and tough times create champions. Thank you, sports. So, team, I do want to thank you for your time. Equipo, gracias por tu tiempo. And this was just really an episode of just showing, hey, sports and music are and a little bit of everything in life. Poetry is something that we can have an outlet to, and it's a safe place to vent. With technology and things along those lines being distractions, journaling and writing down your feelings and emotions is okay. Matter of fact, you might feel better about yourself. Now, it's up to you if you want to share that. This is poetry could be something that it's personal between you and that piece of paper or the notes on your computer. But knowing how to express and feel is a beautiful thing about poetry. So, with this, odes are always positive. I hope you like my ode. That's all I have. I hope you give it a nice rest. All right, Steve. So, thank you for this poetry session. I tried to go ahead and rhyme. Now, I can't do that always on a dime, but we will try. So, as my nephew looks at this down the road, Heidel's house is meant to inspire, and I appreciate you guys also dire. Gracias por tu tiempo. Have a good night, team, or a good day, wherever you're watching.